"Hold your moon in the night," said a voice that I did not recognize from under my back porch. Pretty big dinosaur, it turned out. Leastways, that's what I reckon. A coo's what trotted out from underneath my deck, kinda ducking, like he were too tall for the structure. It seemed he who'd turn me. I boast of 6 slick clocks, and I clocked him with one at a fabulous rate that exceeded even my own usual dexterity. But I tell you, this dinosaur twisted their fearsome neck and bit Boat-It out of the air with a ferocious chomping bite, and it exploded into clock springs. Accards, oh, we kick it old school, baby. And the War of the Roses blew open his nosy and hurt outy smouch. Owie, ouch. I took him to Hanukkah training after that and poured pineapple grapefruit cocktail into a mock-late mocktail of shocking awe in a huckster's ducktails training class from Fruit by the Food, honorary company advisor to Hefferman Santiel, a domineering titan of industry who rolls up cattle into tiny bins and sells them as back-a-chore to the drooling rubes as they stop off at a petrol station on their way to their radiotherapy for der Wundies got durs once are in them. On Vixen. Don Cruncher, Don Wixler, Vlon Stamper and Vlorik Zeraber who vivo. Si mist farius, nare nesnis no. Roggy the foggy, hard, a surely poorly tombs. With spewing vom dirt, schmew weighty bomb and shoring durs, schmwell birdie gums. And my alfalfa fell lost at last, had a big blast of doctor's fat. And then after that, no name left in his hat, so he had his initial re-engraved in the brim with a polymerized spoon welded into 6 triune hammer coils that reverberated with an unholy but sacred light of essential frequencies that somehow pulled their own maroon dog robot into a nearby bed and Wendy's and turned it into a delicatessen without a trace of irony or a trace of underdeveloped beetlebug ashtray, inserts that unlocked level 2 knowledges without pride or pen, befouling crypto wallets with flaming gunk that hurts the eyes to scope out. But when you get it in your britches, ye start twitching all gnarly, and you have exposed the oil in the tank to the flame bodies, too like old school Mega Man 2 boss type robots that are like shooting you with lemon meringue, and you're like, why are they called the flame buddies? And they come at you all pissed, and they say, because flambe britches burning you up after we put you into the pie, biggie boy, yeah. Soda brothers bound in dinosaur blood traipsed through the gravy like intrepid bicycle sales fishermen tasked by a vacant doorframe into eclipsing all his minor swine, beveling into a backward space so narrowly that only the love handles pop in and poop out a whole closet full of Encyclopedia Britannica, and you're like, I want the Welsh edition. I poodle into the parlour and stand aghast at what I see. 16 ninja turtle wannabes who don't seem to want to be all that much. No offence to them for how stupid they are. It's just they should be eliminated with not just rhetoric, but with giant burning statues of gumball machines equipped with a giant computer screen depicting an animated face of Matt Lauer glowering at all and sundry into the night evening in the darkness of a seal-emblazoned sky teeming with aquatic mammals, beaming with despotic scandals, more likeys, bikey, later on Mikey, Angeli, ooh-hoo spangled my braces in a trifecta of delectable lessons, starting with shrimp crimping and bubbling all the way up to colloidal fluids, tangerine plankton, fossil gumption, bake crimping, barrel worsening, and float hamper reduction medication, surgery information, a subsidiary of bloat, your bloatly gown, the bound, blee bully, wee bully wheats, viper vipes windowed. It were funny at first, the way the whistle blocks kept twisting into a helix, but the more I saw about the bird, the less fattening foodie products and processed waste I was willing to pump into my sewer. I started draining it down the bathtub instead, but then guess what I found out next? The bath tube drains to the CERM derm plates. Suey waste pipe. I dwelt inside a pawned septic drum in East Hampton for over 400 years, praying to my dark god that I would be turned into a venomous shrimp and back into myself, as had been foretold in prophecy. It proved prophetic, for in the end all shall come to pass that shall, something I always try to remember, but going back and forth between shrimp and human form seems to scramble my brambles somewhat. Can you get down in the weeds while you're hanging from the vine needles, feet not touching the ground? Asking for a friend. Please fax the response to dweeble slivendorf uwive. Fueven fuvi fuoro. This is all celery stalks and Bertleby dander, emulsion and dwindler spinker, tin, blinker, skin, searchlight, snake, noggin, Ortleby twins, and when they showed up in my own mucoliginous waste, I spewed entrails out into the shore haven, and a tower rose to the stars above. Finally, a water bottle made of literal spiders. That's something our clock tower could all get struck by lightning over. Fangs Yule floor deer time and the bwinky baby. I got to pray for prickle and bathe in the enemies of my blood. So a lot of bacteria growing crystals in my urethra at the moment, by the by. Just at the now. I had bet my bone basin on the saddle six coming equipped with a hand dryer made of insulin pectin that purses its lips and steals your handbag with a grand sandworm and shiny flattery. But the shallow beads left holes in your head that are layered like an ozone lizard, retreating into several of the unusual pencil frog and 7 difficult inception targets, like brainyard duck slither and basin urkel shelf disbasement. I am a yarn wad, and a wall of phlegm engulfs me in a simmering redundancy of particle emissions and absorptive disgorgement, but mind pelican razor glaze coated each hazy sliver of my development hamter and found it bitterly lacking. I lack a paid flesh gizzard, so I pack kidneys and salsa cubes into my icicle, dampening hand marlin. Brainless swelling, accompanying each dash flashing that diagonal hazard signal like a virulent bee striped to the eye, so the flesh knows fear before it is pricked. If you get picked out of a crowded hall by a man with a pair of visors for nostrils, you are likely draped in a shroud that only you cannot see. Your fate has been decided in iron towers filled with tooth powder up to the knees from the grinding of the personnel. If it were down to being up to you, I would not be down with that. But it's up to being down from you and against you. And so all my hatched bracelets fell into line and began to recite the morning news in tones so sweet. You could have sworn they were stolen from Tin Pan Alley pioneers now since long, from now since, and ago forgotten, but never to be revealed again. A spatula of the grave, or a staple gun of a brighter fjord crossing. Hatching a hash cash requires a bread note of 7 nautical swan grease, yogurt whistles, and a bin liner of bandied about boasting toaster wheelies, popping a tic-tac and taking your sweet tweeting time to pop a tock out your yoga boot, and you're gonna get velvet creatures up in your cochlea if you keep burning that line at wire time, and the moonlight boot levelers grain themselves to breath in the highlighter sea, endemic to all Reist rustlers, and grubble up some savings at Schmelking havens, a not for no profit, fundamental, Plorgen Nurzeishin, paid for by all the monies you don't have. Plate presses pushed raw sheetrock into wooden planks they reinforced with barley roots and diesel exhaust. Principal donors saw a flaming pink biohazard crushing their local post office with elephantine abandon. Nobody's donor bladder was usurped that day, but the local county seat was unseated when it was revealed he had 2 forms of underwear, mild and athletic. This was deemed a bridge too far for the Ruby Ridge types, who all died when their solenoid plenums burst asunder like a taxicab filled to the brim with iron spikes duct taped to pylon, hiking steel cap-burst thrusters and trustworthy anti-code army dreidels, repurposed bed lining essence, and cramp-tussling wheelmasters and frame-weaving wish slam camp rooted about as a lazy henchman detailer, but failed to defile any further annulments from encroaching Druid day.